Well, let's get started with the big one, and it's one that has held us spellbound. Not in the right way, really, and this is not just for days, for weeks, but for months now. This is a situation that dates back to late last year. It's not what a lot of people saw coming, but it is what it is. The sad part is lives are being lost in this process. I'm talking about River State politics, and well, this is getting out of hand, as they say. So this morning, let's get some more perspective to this, shed some light, and hopefully get closer to resolving this impasse. We're joined on the program by the Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress APC in River State, Mr. Chibike Ikenga, joins us virtually on the program. We also expect to be joined by former acting MD of NDDC, former Commissioner for Information in River State, Ibim Semeniteri. She'll join us subsequently on the show. But Mr. Ikenga, welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you for having me, Kylie.
Well, the latest, at least that we heard from your party, the APC, is a call for state of emergency in River State. I know this had been touted in the past, but we need to first understand where this call is coming from, because it has been said that the APC in River State is a very peculiar organism, if I can say that. Some even describe the APC as PDAPC in River State. So is this the former Minister Amechi's side or the former governorship candidate Tonye Cole's side, or the APC at the national level? What nomenclature does APC have now in River State to be calling for a state of emergency?
Okay, thank you. An impression has to be corrected immediately. The caretaker committee in the APC was constituted by drawing membership from all the factions that existed in the APC as it then was. I can inform you that I was taken from the Tonye Cole's team because I was one of his staunch supporters. So I emerged as publicity secretary. So all the APC in River State have come together under one leadership. Chief Tony Okocha is the chairman of the caretaker committee. And we take our orders and directives from the national leadership of the party under Alhaji Ganduje and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the overall leader of the party. That given, that's where we stand.
Right. So some have even said that the Minister of FCT also has a part or a share in the APC in River State. So is this also in the mix for you?
Well, you can quickly read that through because the FCT minister is working under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it will not be totally out of place to say, for critics to continue to say that he's supportive of APC policies and programs, because the programs that is being driven, or programs that have been driven rather, by the president are programs of the APC. And if Chief Yenso Wike, the immediate past governor and FCT minister, is working with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, so someone can easily conclude. And look at his outstanding performance at the FCT. It's about APC's policies and programs. So you can easily conclude that.
Right.
At a cursory look.
Right. So, I mean, you'll not blame people who then call it a PDAPC, but let's get to the substantive issue. And at the heart of it, it goes back to, the House of Assembly, the defection of members, the Ameule group, to the APC. So, effectively, they defected to your party, the APC. And a law was amended. This, of course, caused a lot of, it caused lots of issues, which is what we're still seeing today. But it was taken to court. Court made a decision on it and eventually said everybody revert to status quo. And then we saw the emergence of yet another group of lawmakers now headed by Victor Okojumbo. But speak to us, particularly for the lawmakers that are now in your party, the APC. What is their state really, before we then begin to talk about this state of emergency? Because it goes back to their membership or otherwise.
Okay, quickly, the River State House Assembly members under Speaker Martin Samehule did show interest in the policies and programs of the APC and particularly in Rivers State, signaled interest in joining the APC in furtherance of that their love and likeness for the policies of the party. And that was in the process until certain citizens of Rivers State took them to the court under Dr. Justice Parson. And in looking at the issues, the court asked for proof of their decampment from the PDP to the APC, particularly wherein they are expected to show their membership cards and then show their names in the register of the political party, their new political party being the APC. Unfortunately, those who took them to court, they didn't have those requirements. And predicated on that, the court struck down their claimed membership of the APC. And that is where we are now, that the processes of becoming members of the APC in Rivers State had not been complied with. Their names are not in the register and they do not have membership card. Neither have they been paying the dues as required. So upon this, the decision, so they are returned by the law to their party where they had already secured the mandate. So that given, it's also on the basis of that Governor Fubara and his team went ahead to ask that their seats be declared vacant, and that all these issues are subject of litigation at the Court of Appeal. More so, that the fact that they have left their party, according to Governor Fubara and his team, which the court had said they have not left their party, and that any laws they have made will not be complied with, that they have become null and void. These are some of the issues which are also before the Court of Appeal that have led to the present status.
Mr. Ikenga, let's put the facts right. So help me out here. When you look at the enforceable decisions of court, 3 of them, from the court CTC we saw, I don't think anything was reflective of whether or not there were membership or anything that has to do with their membership. I know that issues of jurisdiction was addressed by his lordship. Issue of local standi was addressed by his lordship. An additional issue of adding PDP as a defendant in the case. The issue that you're raising now, which we're aware of, we saw that it was an obiter dictum. So I'm wondering why you're bringing it as a statement of facts.
Well, I'll confirm to you that there are plethora of court cases, rulings, orders, and judgments. And all these are the reasons upon which actions and inactions are being undertaken by the groups. So the Court of Appeal and the Federal High Court, as well as State High Court, have made decisions, and these decisions affect how people take positions. And up until the Court of Appeal, that's why I'm talking about all of them in general, up until the Court of Appeal takes a final decision, and then the Supreme Court, we will continue to have these disagreements and challenges until the final court.
Well, Mr. Ikenga, I'd like to know, because it was an issue before the court, well, Jeffrey has provided clarification that it was an obiter dictum by the judge, but because it was an issue and you are a member of the APC, I'd like you to provide for us from an insider perspective if Amewule and 26 others have indeed registered duly as members of the All Progressives Congress. Do you have evidence to that effect? Of course, we know that they announced their defection publicly, but is there now evidence to prove that indeed they are members of the APC?
You know, membership of a political party is a process. It's not a one-off thing. That you have identified a political party and you say, I want to join party A, does not make you a member of that party. You have to go through the processes. Firstly, if you belong to another political party, as it is in this instance, they were members of the PDP, where their mandate was sought. And then they have declared intention to join in the APC, having come to terms with the policy programs and policies of the party. And they have said so. So having said so does not automatically confirm membership of the APC on them. They have to go through first resignation from their PDP, as they cannot belong to two parties at the same time. When they resign their membership of the PDP, they tender their letter of resignation. Then they go to the same ward where they come from and register as members of the PDP, of APC rather. When they resign from the PDP, they go to that same ward where they come from and register as members of the APC. And they are issued a membership card and their names enter into the register. And afterwards, they will be accepted and they become members of the party.
Mr. Kenga, we don't want to belabor this.
Have not been consummated.
We don't want to belabor this issue because some things are subject of adjudication. So we're careful not to be at fault at the contempt of court. But I don't think what you're explaining is a difficult process. Everything you said now cannot take more than 24 hours. Putting up a resignation letter and getting a card, maybe 24 hours, 48 hours is done. This guy is defected December 11, 2023. This is June. So what are we saying? How hard can it be?
Okay, let me tell you how hard it can be as well. You know that membership of a political party is not just that, registration of membership of a political party is not just that. There's no registration that is ongoing now. If you follow the news, you know that APC national leadership had just kickstarted e-registration. They just did that about last week. And now, you also know that if there are members of political parties, other political parties who want to join our party, we need a waiver from the national leadership of the party to automatically register them. And
so Mr. Kenga
are still in the process.
Mr. Kenga,
those are the issues.
Mr. Kenga, this same question was put through to the caretaker chairman of the APC yesterday on our program. Is the party being careful about the consequences of defection, and as a result is tacitly denying the membership status of Amewule and 26 others?
I don't know what you mean by deny. I've told you that it's a process and they have not consummated it. They were in the process.
The process has not been consummated in 6 months.
I've told you, if there is no National Executive Committee meeting to address the issue of waiver, what has happened? The National Executive Committee does not hold meetings all the time.
But do you agree with precedent in the case of Abegunde that when you defect, you lose your seat?
That's not what it is. They gave conditions, so you must attach the conditions. So the conditions, if there are crises that have made it impossible for you to transact your business in your former party, then the decampment or the prosperity will be sustained. But if there are no crises, if there are no issues that have deprived you from proper participation in your party, then it may not be sustained.
So you cannot clarify if indeed Mr. Martin Amewule and 26 others are members of the APC. Is that what you're saying? They are not, their membership is undetermined.
Says, sorry?
You cannot say categorically the status of their membership right now.
I have said they were in the processes of becoming members of the APC, but the court has put a stop to that.
All right, we'll take your explanation. Moving forward now, I'd like you to speak to the tenure elongation dispute in Rivers State of the immediate past chairman of 23 local government areas, the swearing in of new caretaker committee chairman. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, I think I just listened to the governor. I have also listened to it yesterday. He said that tenure elongation is alien to our constitution. I agree with him. But he went ahead to say we will not allow that to happen under our watch, which he saw as an unconstitutional act. And then he's using another unconstitutional act, an aberration to democratic governance in terms of caretaker, to correcting what he termed as unconstitutionality. So can an unconstitutionality cure an unconstitutionality? The answer is no. So I believe clearly that the reason why the tenure elongation came into being in the first place was is the inability of the governor and his party, the PDP, to conduct local government elections as at when due. And we know their fear because their party, the PDP in Rivers State, is polarized. Their party is bedeviled with crisis, and they cannot put their hands together to be able to confront the APC in the local government election if they had fixed it. That's the reason why they are using an aberration called caretaker committee to replacing what they call tenure negotiation. The House of Assembly did say that vacuum has never been contemplated by our constitution. And if the governor and his party, for whatever reasons, are unable to hold elections at the local government level as at when due, that since those who occupy the office have been properly elected by the people, that it was necessary to elongate their term to 6 months, within which period the governor and his team can put processes in place to holding local government elections and replacing democratically elected with another set of democratically elected persons at the local government.
Well, Mr. Ikenga, you say that the governor is using an aberration to cure an aberration. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were the erstwhile CTC chairman of Ikwere local government area. Does that mean that, shall we say then that you were also part of an aberration in the past administration?
That's what, not past administration, no. I did not work under Governor Wike as governor. I was never part of his government. Never have I been. Never. For the past 8 years, I never participated in his government at whatever level.
You were once a CTC
I've been an APC member. It was under Rotimi Amechi's term that I became a caretaker committee chairman for 3 months. If the constitution had said it's an aberration, that is what it is. If we occupied positions illegally, that was what it was. And therefore, the fact that we did occupy that time and the constitution has said it's not right, must we continue to thrive on illegality?
Right. So let's talk about this call for a state of emergency. What we've seen, and what we've seen so far, Mr. Ikenga, is that 3 people at least have lost their lives. 2 security operatives and 1 former SUG president. That is really sad, and that's something we have spoken about before now, how we need to be careful, because this naturally would dovetail into violence, and now we're seeing deaths being recorded. So the call for a state of emergency, what shape and form, one, do you expect it to take? That's on the one hand. How viable is this call? Some have said that we've seen worse situations in Rivers State. We've seen worse, political impasse and rivalry in Rivers State led to more deaths, sadly. So that's on the other hand. And just wondering, the president had intervened the first time, or at least earlier on. There was a list of resolutions which some had called unconstitutional and the rest. So again, what will be the propriety of the president wading in, or at least the federal government wading into something that could easily be resolved at the state level or at the local government level?
Okay, thank you, Kaide. I'll tell you that in Rivers State, APC has called for a state of emergency. You recall that the raison d'etat of any government is the protection of lives and property. And once a government is unable to do so, the government has failed. And as in this instance, the government in Rivers State has failed at protecting lives and property. Examples abound. You mentioned those who have been killed, and the tension in the state and the threats to lives and survival by the governor's supporters are worrisome. And then PDP, having had 2 groups, they are clashing, they have problems. The lives of people in Rivers State can no longer be, their security can no longer be guaranteed. And as an opposition party, our interest is to ensure that proper things are done, particularly security, protection of lives and property, good governance, the transparency and accountability must be instituted. And therefore, since those things are now lacking, those tenets, those democratic tenets that we expect that will improve the lives of the people are lacking in Rivers State, we think that it is proper for a neutral person to be brought into this state to stabilize the state and allow people to go about their businesses as freely as possible.
So again, the propriety of that is this just flying a kite? Have you sat down to really look at the issues? If I look at the role the APC has played in all of this and say, all right, everybody, let us do this give and take. This is what we're willing to take and give. What is it you're willing to take and give? Because at the heart of this, really, it's just a political crisis that can be resolved politically. I mean, all of the going to court, I think, is just trying to elongate the issue and spread it further. If the political actors sit back and say, well, I am giving, I am taking, this would actually end. So are we really being honest with ourselves, Mr. Ikenga? Well, I say ourselves, I mean the people in Rivers State. Is there really honesty and the desire to better the lives of the people in the state of Rivers State at large in all of this, or just selfish interests?
Okay, thank you. Kayode, I think that politics is about give and take. I believe that completely. I know that when the president did intervene, the president made that possible for us to so do. I was part of that meeting. I was there. And then it was proper that everybody, our Governor Fubara was there, and other leaders of the state. The House of Assembly has a disagreement with the executive, and the president intervened. And processes of give and take were put in place. And the governor insisted that he must have it all. You know, the last talk that broke the camel's back was that the president, in his presidential proclamation for peace, did ask that the governor should present the budget of the state to a properly constituted house under Martin Samewe. The governor refused. And the president also said that the Rivers State House Assembly must withdraw the impeachment notice. And they did. These are things that have to do with give and take. So the governor sidestepped most of the strategic and most crucial parts of this crisis and continued to do what he felt he could do. The governor went ahead to say that he does not recognize a properly constituted House of Assembly. It's not right. The governor has also gone ahead to stop their salaries, payment of their salary and allowances. These are all things that have created the crisis. He is the governor. Nobody is saying that he's not the governor. The issue of his position being threatened through an impeachment process has been withdrawn. As the statesman, as the leader of Rivers State, a government, he must do things that are in tandem with the interests of the larger populace. But the government had continued to do ethnocentric policy alignments, intimidation of opponents, and then trying to create violence as a means and policy of government to try to become the legislature, become the chief executive, and become the adjudicator. For instance, you heard that Court of Appeal, or you are aware that Court of Appeal did say that let status quo be maintained on these issues. Pending.
All right, I guess, okay, go ahead, please.
Unfortunately,
oh dear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, please. We had a bit of network connection issues. So go ahead, please. Land on your thoughts.
Okay, so now today is 20th of June, was fixed by the Court of Appeal to look at the issues and try to find a way forward. Instead of the governor to allow today, the governor had gone ahead to announce against the run of play that the tenure of local government chairman had expired. And then he instituted a caretaker, a day to the day decision will be made. These are things that show clearly that the governor has assumed the position of the chief legislator making laws by declaring that he doesn't recognize the State House of Assembly and then going ahead to proclaim another House of Assembly under Uncle Jumbo, his cousin, and then going ahead to take decisions on behalf of the court. These are the issues that have exacerbated the crisis in Rivers State and the tension. And that's on the basis of all this that we are calling for a state of emergency for a neutral person who will be fair to all, who will abide by the constitutional provisions and then redirect the development of our state. That is where we are.
So, Mr. Ikenga, I think there's a lot of debate about, and I've asked this question severally, about status quo when it comes to this issue. What do you expect the governor to have done so that we can have a balanced conversation? Do you expect him to have left the other leadership, I mean the ones that their tenure expired on the 17th, to continue, or he should have done what he did right now? Apparently, it looks like you feel that the position of the governor should have been to respect the amendment of the law, which dovetails into the status of the lawmakers to know whether you can give effect to that law or not. It's a gamut of almost a bit of a confusion. So is it that by your assessment, what should have been status quo would have been leave the chairman to continue in office pending the determination of what happens in court today? Is that your is that your perspective?
Okay, thank you. My perspective, if you also took note, the only day that was a working day was yesterday, the 19th. The only day that was a working day was yesterday, 19th, and the next day is the day the court will take the decision. So the governor would have just kept quiet. Only yesterday, only 19th, he would have just allowed 19th to go until today the decision is made. If it is made in his interest and he wins, he goes ahead to do whatever he wants to do, set motion in place to conducting local government elections. But to kickstart this crisis when there is an order of the court asking everyone to maintain status quo is what had led to this level of violence. That is the truth.
Some will also say there will also be a vacuum. So why allow there to be a vacuum based on their own interpretation of the law, or at least the law being relied upon? But clearly, we'll still have to look to the courts to get a resolution, and today will be very vital in that process. But I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Chibuike Ikenga, Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Congress, APC in Rivers State. Thank you for your time. And at least for the sake of Rivers people, we wish Rivers State peace and the very best. Thank you, Mr. Ikenga.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll get the perspective of Learned Silk. Yes, there's a lot to cut through, but it's important to get those perspectives. Hopefully that can guide the political actors. But that's just in a few seconds. Stay with us.